Hey everyone, this is Matt Garapi with CMS Critic. I am at Umbraco Codegarden 2026 in beautiful Copenhagen. It's been an incredible event so far. We're on day 2. This event started back in 2005 with, I think, 23 people and maybe a few boxes of pizza. Now over 700 people, so a few records being broken. I'm joined this morning with CEO Mats Persson, and we've talked before. Mats had some great conversations about the track for Umbraco. As I mentioned, some records being broken. You said yesterday, I think attendance was up by over 100 people this year, so a big jump. I'm happy to report that attendance was up for the morning run this morning as well. So, which apparently is a big change. Typically, what I was told is that it starts to taper off. Perhaps there's an association with the evening events that causes some people to not show up the next day. But we had almost 20 people, I think, this morning. So it was a big deal. We had a great run around the city. The weather was incredible. So let's start there. Maybe your reflections on what's standing out on after day one. Maybe a bit of a recap for you, and why this event is so important. This is now your second Codegarden, right? And just share with us your reflections on day one.
This is great. This is like influencers. They just talk to the microphone like this. Feels so modern. Yeah, that was great. No, we had a tremendous good. I don't know the Runners Club. I hear that. I've delegated that to others. Well, I have no real reason for that, but that's good. Now, as you say, we are breaking records. We're back in Copenhagen, and that, I think, has added some attendance, but we also see the interest. We had from Sweden last year, there were 8 participants. Now we counted more than 50 people from Sweden alone. So there's a lot of regions. We have more people than we expected also from the US, even though we have a big conference in the US in the autumn where we put our bets in there, but still people are coming here. It's a long tradition to be here. And having over, tonight we will be closing up to 800 people at the dinner. But the program yesterday was so multifaceted. There were several sessions that I couldn't go to due to conflicting because they were running parallel.
Right.
We have 4 different stages. I think the common theme that's coming back is, of course, AI and the explosion of functionality, features, and capabilities that we have. And for me, it is just it resonates so well with everything. I listened to your speech yesterday, and I think at the end, which we discussed at the end there, everything you talk about, which is the worries and the tendencies in the market, we can address that. With our flexibility, our openness, the fact that open source gives Claude the opportunity to learn everything. There's no guess and tell work. So the quality that comes out when you're building on top of Umbraco is just magnificent. We get developers that are coming from I've been working a little bit with Umbraco, a little back and forth. I work with other platforms also, but now with the way the agentic coding is coming in on Umbraco, I'm leaning over to that. We see developers, we see agencies that want to go agentic coding, they choose Umbraco before the others because it is a closed system, and that's by definition. I wish I would say that it's my smart strategic decision to, but the open source has been there for 20 years.
Right.
So that, with also the fact that our platform is built for extension, which means that we build AI on top and we'll let the community. So I heard some of our competitors had a conference 2 weeks ago. They released 5 new things. We do that almost per second in here. I don't know how many new things there were yesterday, but there's hundreds of them. There's so many of them. So what I'm concerned with now is that we need to tell the story. We need to get out there. We need to package this so we can, the opportunity is there. We have the platform, we have the technology, we have the people, but we need to tell the story. So it resonates with people that are out there with the reality. I talked today about Pete from New Zealand. He had a public customer there at the government, and what they're implementing to them, well, that's a basic, very simple chatbot, because that's where they are. One part of my speech later today will be that the suppliers and the technology promise and the gap, and you mentioned that also, between operational reality and the vendor's promise. There's a clear gap there. We promise and we talk about MCP service that's going to talk to each other back and forth, but the reality is not there yet. So we need to acknowledge that, because otherwise we're just rolling them over, I think. So again, storytelling, getting in tune with reality, and start small. Now I've given away my whole speech. You're not broadcasting this, right?
We're not going live right now. We'll replay this later. But this was it was good to. I appreciate that perspective and a couple of themes that we'll drill into. So I sat through Boletta Kern, who's running the product management for CMS. She said the CMS is more important than ever for a lot of the reasons that you're citing. To have that layer of trust. CMS becoming more part of the infrastructure play. And I think in Phil Whitaker's talk where he got into agentic coding, we talked about agentic engineering. And then earlier in the day, Philip Beck-Larsen, your CTO, talked about releasing MCP as a remote server now. So you're edging into this direction where agentic coding, some of the themes that you just mentioned, are front and center for the developers in your community, the builders. Let's talk a little bit about Umbraco in AI, because I think that's the distinction that Phil Whitaker was making during his talk, that there is AI in Umbraco, and you just mentioned that it was a conscious decision not to build it into the core, to look to the community, to create that separation of concerns so that you could provide more innovation and pipe it in. But then there's Umbraco in AI and sort of this broader view of how agents are becoming a critical part of the agentic enterprise and how companies are planning to execute. What stands out for you from an Umbraco perspective with respect to your capabilities to answer that need? I know you've gotten a little bit into this already, but perhaps build on some of the things that Phil was pointing to, because he got very explicit about how agents are going to become, and the skill sets that agents bring are going to become a very important part of your strategy.
Yeah, and I think there's two parts there. First is the agents, the agencies and the developers there, how they use Umbraco to develop, as we talked about, using agentic coding and the source code. The second one is, of course, then what we build for editors and what they build for editors and the experience they have there, the Umbraco in AI, as you say, right? And there's no doubt that since our system is built by design for extension, a hook in Umbraco is not a hack. It's by design. A hook in any of our colleagues in the industry, as we call the competitors.
Very diplomatic.
Very diplomatic. Then a hook is a hook. Or a hook is a hack. That's not meant to. You can do it. I know. Firsthand. I've people, and I know people that are working with some of our competitors, and they know their way in, but it's not meant to. And it's been per design for many years extensions. So everywhere, last year in Codegarden and the year before when we released the version 17, it's all over extension. That's what the developers have loved, developing on Umbraco. Build what you want, how you want it. Now we just add AI, so it fits perfectly in that any prompts, any reason, any parts of it, Compose and the others are meant for extension, and therefore when you say pipe it in, well, it's actually by design. So it's a very simple decision to do, and it's coming to us. So I'm kind of downplaying our strategic move here. It's coming to us. It's just the fact that we couldn't do it in any other way, but it turns out to be a very good way. So we are, and it's a little bit piece of luck. When you need to know, and that always happens when you're on a journey where things are going great. There's always a piece of luck in there. Sure. That's another presentation. So what we see then now is that for editors, providing only the MCP server to editors, it demos super sexy, and everyone goes, "Yeah, right, that's good."
Right.
But then next bit. But that's extremely powerful. You can do anything with a back office, which in a flick of a second you can erase the whole site or all blog posts or anything just by prompting it wrong. So what we see there is that we need to narrow it down so that we build an MCP server for editors, and then you also tailor it, because we are everywhere in the world. We're from any industry there is. We're from retail to commerce to higher education to public. So we can't provide one set, we build the flexibility so that the agents and the agencies and the developers can develop that skill set and that MCP server by configuring it for their customer. So it means that you tailor that to it. Here's your editors. So we open up for the extension. So even on the MCP's part, And this is what I think I can see in the crystal ball for our developers and people developing on Umbraco. Will be less coding, but more of this. Setting up the MCP service, MCP usability, so that you can start prompting. You saw the examples that Phil had, where you're combining various sources, you can update it, but it's quite powerful prompts that he suggested there, right?
Yeah.
For an editor, you can basically write in clear text, what the heck is the problem?
Yeah.
Right?
And it's quite elegant the way that he mapped it out too.
Exactly, and that requires work. And then, so that's one thing that I see, that developers are triggered, and I'm an old software developer myself. I know, I'm not old, but I've been around. And people say, when did you write code last time? That's irrelevant. It's not about time. It's the fact that I did it. Back in the days. So a developer wants to fix things. And now there is a little bit of middle ground here where the agent is taking over some of the fun parts, but the developers that's gone above that, they're feeling, hallelujah. Writing the code is not the thing. It's fixing the things. And now they fix it with agents and do it faster, more rapidly, more with quality. And also setting up the MCP service, that's more the development. Because the front end is just done, you can do one copy today, trash it, and then another one. But how do you get the functionality work that fits your editorial need based upon your data and your systems? And you need a CMS in the background there in order to get the content. So that's what I see, that is how Umbraco in AI will develop. Then the skills, it's always between the MCPs and skills right now, whether that's going to be used also for users. But I think as we see it now, the MCPs are the ones that will be the driving prompt
for sure.
Yeah, and then if you got agents on top of that, it's going to do some of that, well, that's next phase. Today, people in the loop, human in the loop, checking that is it. So it's not starting hallucinating and then your site looks like a trashed bomb thing because an agent decided that was
rails,
exactly.
Right.
So that's it. And then last thing, which I noted yesterday, which is my reflection also, is that the CMS will be there. If it's called CMS or not, but data and content will still be something that any organization wants to keep their own asset. If it's stored and kept, but again, you remember the example Phil had back there, where he were prompting a Google Drive to get content out, right?
Yep.
Just add a question to that. What if the Google Drive is not updated? Is that the real thing we're using? Should that be the versions of the product we're using? Now, and someone says, no, you're back to reality again, right? No, that's just a dump. That's where those are not for production. Okay, you need to sort out the data. Where do you put the data that's qualified? Well, that's where the content management came in, right? So yes, the validity of data will come next. We can build front ends as we want to. We can integrate it with it. We can pick and choose. But then the quality. Should we get going on that? No, hold on. That's not the verified one. No, that's not. That's John's latest. Those can't be used for that. Right. Okay. So when do you check that? Well, we need to go through them and check them. Right? You hear it, right?
Yeah.
So the CMS back end will be there. Front end, that is something. But the way we also show that Phil did yesterday, how fast we can build demos in Umbraco now. And we will have, and I've decided yesterday that we need to have a training course for our agencies of how to build fast demos in Umbraco, because that changed a lot. The thing that was an RFP, then you got a brief, then you got 4 weeks to try to develop something, that's going down to a day now. You get a brief, and we're already in the meeting, you have converted, you've wide coded something, right? But we want to get away from that you already build it directly onto Umbraco as a demo based upon their existing site. Maybe they've added some new functionality they already can see. What if you could do this? Right. This is how it looks today, but what if you could do this and this? And that's a powerful sales. But again, that's the front end that is so fast to develop. The content strategy, the security, are all the legal documents. Have legal been in over this? You can hear it, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, we're done. Well, you seen it? The website is done. Yeah, I don't know. Have legal been a killer, right?
Right.
So we are cautious about that, all this opportunity and promises, and what we see up there, that it resonates with what the customers want as of today.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. It's quite a story, and it's been quite a journey as well. And you mentioned too that maybe we can wrap on this, but you've been on the road, Denver. You mentioned Australia yesterday. I think you and I collaborated on a composable webinar while you were in Denver, and it seems that that's part of the strategy too, is to be out in the community with agencies. Very visible, elevating the awareness around what it is that you're doing. But talk to me a little bit more about what that means. Obviously, it's very obvious to me, being at Codegarden, understanding the vibe and the feel, the energy, that they're reflecting the momentum. And there's a lot of enthusiasm. I talked to several agencies last night. Dear Friends was one of them I mentioned. Had a great conversation with them about, as I talk with many agencies in the ecosystem, what their concerns are, how they feel about the future, and how Umbraco's open sourceness, its superpower, so to speak, is a part of their strategy, what they're bullish about. When you think about the channel and your growth strategy, particularly as you look at North America and other markets like Australia, what does that look like over the coming year? More offices, more representation, growing those partner channels? Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
That's as simple as that. Easy. No, I mean, let me put a little bit more flavor to that. Yes, it is. As I said, we're everywhere, and one of the beautiful thing, but also it's just such an opportunity, is that we. I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but when I'm traveling, and I've been traveling a lot the last 3 months. I met more than 100, even I think I counted even up to 120 partners in 9 different strategy sessions where we sat down for a full day. Matt was one of those in New York, right?
Matt McQueenie, yeah.
Matt McQueenie was there. I hear, and there's a lot of things that are kind of a little bit unique. There's some competitors in New Zealand that doesn't exist in the rest of the world, etc. But in general, it's the same concerns. It's again where the customers are and where the reality is. One public person that working for a government in Australia, she was just, well, we are so behind. It's always, yeah, but you could be a little bit ahead. Now we're always behind. I mean, that's where we're starting with the small. So again, be able to provide that easy, simple, not a license-based, huge cost, get going opportunity that we have. We can scale, and we do scale. We have massive, big scales, but it's again, the starting and the hurdle to get started is low, which is a great opportunity for us. We do this through partners. So meeting partners is the key, because we get one too many, of course, educating them. And that's boots on the ground. We're investing more in the North America now because the partner network needs to be enabled more. We want to spread the news. And the fact that there are so many installations out there that we don't know of. And I will do that in my keynote here today, where I have 3 examples from both Auckland Transportation that I met. I met a guy at the gym in the morning, and I said I worked for a Danish company, and he said, yeah, well, what do you do? Well, I'm working for Umbraco. Well, we use you. Oh, do you? What do you do? I work for Auckland Transportation. Is that what I think it is? Yeah, it's all the it's the trains, it's the metro, it's the buses, it's it's some boats. They don't have a metro, I think, but anyway, so it's that. Okay,
sure.
Yeah, I don't work it directly, but you can meet up with the team if you want to. Yeah, so 3 hours later we were in Auckland Transportation. They were like, is there a company? Are you CEO for that? How cool! Because we were looking at this forms thing, which can we buy that? Yeah, of course. 3 hours later, there were an invoice there. That's my fame to claim, right? That I'm saving them. I'm doing the sales guys.
Right.
The sales guys down in there have been known that, okay, I have to go here to fix this. But it's an interesting story that you actually catch up on that. So there's so many installations out there that we want to reach out to, and the way we do that is through partners. So enabling the partner. So yes, we're going to expand. If you look upon and take a step backward, for being the size we are very thin on ourselves. So that's to the owners and to the board. I want to continue that, but we do it our way. We grow the business. The uncertainty in the US now, with the business climate and all that, makes that we're not going to go all in that sense. Yeah. Now we're getting started here.
It sounds like
yeah, getting started. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll Matt, thanks so much. We'll wrap it there. Red Hot Chili Peppers playing in the background. We're about to kick off day 2, and stay tuned to this channel. We'll have more news coming to you. Take care. Bye.